The Arcturian Group, August 31, 2013. Greetings, dear ones. Again we come to bring hope and the light of guidance for all is proceeding according to plan. Try not to simply turn away when you hear this, for we know you hear words of change coming from many channels and yet nothing appears to change. It is important to let go of any concepts you may still hold with regard to how world change must manifest, for in holding specific ideas of change you look out through the lens of third-dimensional concepts and see third-dimensional appearances. It is time to move into trust and the practice of truth. We see change in the hearts of many who previously lived lives of anger and resentment, as the higher resonating energies pour to earth at this time, allowing more and more people to open to the experience of compassion regardless of any previously held prejudices. Every unfolding awareness adds another spark of unconditional love to universal world consciousness and helps to bring about the changes you all seek. Unconditional love does not mean you must seek an emotional connection to everyone, but means that in spite of any appearances to the contrary, you recognize everyone as the manifestation of the divine even if they themselves do not know or care. This is unconditional love, and the practice of it does not prevent you from saying what may need to be said to someone behaving in ways needing to be addressed. When words are spoken with an awareness of the other's divine nature, they flow on an energy of light, whereas those same words spoken in the energy of duality and separation carry a low resonance. Life on Earth is about learning to move through and then beyond the false concepts and beliefs that constitute the third dimension. This is evolution. Mankind is creative by virtue of being in and of the divine, but because most have been unaware of who they really are, your world universally and personally has shown forth the perfectly created manifestations of duality and separation. This will only change as mankind changes, and begins to create his world in and through truth. It is time to become aware of and examine any lingering concepts you may still hold with regard to what passes for life as usual. Concepts are simply untrue beliefs passed down and accepted through time as truth. Listen closely and be guided by those intuitive nudges that pop up when you are quietly thinking or in conversation with another. Every issue of normal daily life is spiritual activity overlaid with third-dimensional concepts. This is why there is no need to separate your spiritual life from your everyday life as so many do. It is all spiritual. The work is to see the underlying reality of all things. An example of this could be that you are seeking a new home. You look and look for the perfect home and cannot seem to find it. If you can realize that you are never separate from your perfect home, divine consciousness, the physical interpretation of this realization will manifest in the outer. This is how you reinterpret everything in the physical world through new eyes. Practice seeing through any and all appearances to the spiritual reality that constitutes what you are seeing. If disease actually existed in divine consciousness, it could never ever be healed because it would exist eternally as a reality. Do you understand? All that is real is held in place by divine law and cannot be altered in any way. It is only mankind's false interpretations that see good and evil. Intelligence, abundance, harmony, peace, joy, love, oneness, completeness, wholeness, etc., etc., are infinitely embodied within divine omnipresent consciousness and must be recognized and accepted as your real self. Nothing exists outside of divine consciousness, and all appearances to the contrary are simply false interpretations. These truths constitute your journey from metaphysics to mysticism. Concepts reflect the thinking of the timeline in which they occur, and reflect whatever the state of consciousness was at that time in that location. Some concepts dissolve as society evolves, but others, just as erroneous, come to take their place if states of consciousness remain the same. Evolution is the process of moving beyond concepts and into the truth about God and man. There was a time of when it was believed that the burning of healers and light workers as witches was an appropriate way to deal with evil. The dense consciousness and its accompanying belief system of those times did not permit anyone but God to have spiritual gifts. God was a man in the sky with rules and regulations to be followed under fear of punishment, and evil was a red man with horns called Satan or Devil. This is a glaring example of how the consciousness of duality and separation ignorantly manifests in the world. Society has evolved beyond burning people for having spiritual gifts, but still holds many concepts just as obsolete, and still permits unduly harsh punishments for those who may have chosen to disregard some aspect of currently accepted dogma. When an individual chooses to live governed by some dogma and its accompanying rigid rules of right and wrong, he chooses to live in bondage. Regardless of whether the dogma comes from a religion, government, or a person of authority, it still simply represents someone's interpretation of truth, their concepts and beliefs. This is why you are urged to go within, to practice meditation and get your information directly. You do not need a go-between. Reality is free, loving, joyous, birthless, deathless, changeless, and is infinitely held in place by divine law and is who you are. You are ready, dear ones, to take the deeper steps of reinterpreting everything you see, hear, taste, touch, or smell into its spiritual reality, which means living each day doing what is given you to do, but seeing through any bad or good appearances to the reality. It is a removing of the labels from everything. The world is not an illusion, but false concepts of the world are the illusion. This is the work, dear ones. This is how you shift your world into a new state of consciousness, and it is indeed work, especially at first, and no one can do it for you. This is why you chose to be on earth at this powerful time. There are many who hear and read truth, even pretending to be serious truth students, but are unwilling to release their comfortable old beliefs. Many feel that mystical truths are too impractical to take seriously, and so choose instead to stay in the status quo of what they already know. At this time you are clearing physical cellular memory as well as your emotional and mental bodies, everything that cannot be carried with you into higher dimensional energy. Physical, emotional, and mental clearings frequently manifest in ways that may be uncomfortable on many levels, so learn not to panic but to pay attention to these experiences, which are signposts indicating what you may still hold that needs forgiveness, acceptance, and unconditional love, for self as well as others. Send light to your physical cells, telling them to release any old and finished energy they still hold from this lifetime and past lifetimes. Inform your mental body that you now choose to let go of all false beliefs. Consciously choose that your emotional body release any toxic negative emotional energy and be replaced with unconditional love. This is the work, dear ones, and you are ready and fully able to do it, should you choose. We are the Arcturian group. Channeled by Marilyn Raphael. www.onenessofall.com